Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
And Sam Pruitt. What's up, beautiful humans? Boom! Where are you, Polly?
I would be in a little town in Washington State right now. I'm outside of Cascades National Park, coming to you live and excited. I'm in actually one of the most beautiful. It's like a box canyon. We've heard of box canyons right in the mountains. I've never seen one like this. It's got four, like a little. Anyway, yeah, it's just amazing. So I'm taking in the beauty of nature and looking forward to this topic. Though we are talking about communication, conversations. Speaking
Something
and
we
listening.
obviously hate to do, talk.
Yeah, right.
That's why we have a podcast.
Yes, and it's so critical. We were like, you had listened to. We love Dan Harris and his podcast, 10% Happier. If you don't know him, you're a big super fan of his.
Oh yeah.
And he had a gal on there from Harvard Business School talking about her book, and they were talking about conversations. And I was like, yeah, we got more to talk about than that. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good stuff. But you and I just, having lived a life, and one of the things you were saying is I should share about the program that I'm in, right?
Exactly where you're going to. But before you do that,
Sorry.
before you get going, see, we have so much to talk
So
about.
much. Keep me on track.
Yeah, totally. We want to express to the listener why we feel, before we discuss all the details, why we feel that communication is so critical. And I have some ideas around that, and you can interject and add to my. I could probably write 10 pages, but I'll keep it simple out of the gate just to warm them up a little bit, okay? First of all, it's a critical part of humaning, being a human, right? It's foundational to the human life experience. And anyone listening to this podcast, I think, is mostly a human. It allows us to build and maintain connection, okay, empathy and trust. Again, foundational human relationship with the self and others, foundational elements. It allows us to understand, clarify, inform, and educate. Again, things that are constantly happening in the world on our everyday moving around in the space.
For sure.
Hopefully it allows us to inspire and to lead others. And then lastly, oh my gosh, this is why anybody should really invest in, including us, and you are, invest more skills in this, is it allows us to be seen, to be heard, and to be really like recognized, to be really understood, even if it's not, I agree and I understand you, but the expression and the listening for, and the being, bearing witness to somebody else is just, wow, it's so beautiful, right? It's what we all need.
And as you were sharing that, I was thinking, okay, clarifying. So three thoughts came to mind that I just want to pop in here. One is, so communication, speaking and listening, right? So that's what we're talking about. Yes, there is communication in writing or video and stuff like that. But I think speaking and listening, especially one-on-one or interpersonal groups, things like that. So that's communication. The other was, like, what a core freaking function. You and I were just, we love Elizabeth Gilbert, and she's a masterful teacher in the world of writing and all things, communication. She's actually a beautiful speaker, if you ask me too. And she just did a 5-day silence retreat where it's like no sight, no, like she was just in this little kind of hovel, if you will. Like
not silent.
Oh, that's right. It was visual.
No,
it was visual.
She was fully blindfolded.
That's right. But she was still, I think, she was kind of by herself, but people go on silence retreats is what it made me think of. It's like we're
all the time.
Especially your Zen monk friends, it's like,
I want to do one of those. I do want to do one of those. And of course I will do one at one point. And this wasn't a silent retreat, but when I did that hike recently, that solo hike, I did choose to have no podcast, no books, no music, no sound, except for nature, obviously. And I only spoke to humans when I was required to. So like at the beginning and the end, or if there was something in between that I needed to facilitate. But otherwise I didn't, with intention, talk to people. And it was lovely. I strongly suggest everybody do this.
Totally, totally. So communication is something we can choose not to do, right? Like by choice, like, oh, I want some silence or, peace or, stillness kind of thing. But the rest of our life so much relies on our ability to communicate, to speak and listen in ways that further the conversation, let's say, further what we're up to. And, this work in Landmark, they would say like speaking gives our world. Like what we speak gives our world because our listening, it goes into our subconscious mind and it creates and all sorts of things. And they say that like your life you're listening to, but you're also speaking it into other people's listening as well. And so you speak your word, it's like the table that you're sitting at or the podcast equipment that you're listening to. It's like somebody had to speak that idea into existence. Like I'm going to create that table, right? It doesn't just appear, right? Like we speak so much. Yeah,
it brings concepts, ideas, emotions, whatever, into reality. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, like we literally are creating. And I would say, there was something I was listening to recently about, there was a lot of research years ago about, there was this football team and the coach had done, had found some research and stuff that said just not speaking negatively affects performance, right? And so he's like, guys, in football teams, this is a general thing I'm just going to say from this. I don't know this to be true, but I think it could be true is, they talk a lot of shit on the field. They're like, nah, whatever, right? So you sort of speak down to people or you speak, negatively, or you just like, I screwed up, and he's like, okay, you can have a quote failure or an error or do something wrong, but just don't speak about it. And it was amazing. There's actually evidence out there, not speaking what you're thinking always, if it's not furthering what you're up to or positive or affirming or growing where you're wanting to go, just don't say it. So I know it's like, but I wish I had the data to share with you, but I've heard that before and I believe it's true.
Why don't you tell us about this course you're in Landmark right now?
Okay, we'll set the stage. So 2025, earlier this year, I attended, so Landmark Education is a body of work that's global. You can find them online, landmarkworldwide.com. And I am part of a series, an advanced series that they call the communication courses or the communication curriculum. First one is Communication Access to Power. Great fucking name, by the way, Access to Power. Second one is Communication Power to Create. Like we were talking about, like your words create, right? Power to create. And then I went into a year-long curriculum in support of those two courses to deepen my understanding called the Team Management and Leadership Program. And that is all based around what they teach you in these courses. And then they're just like, keep learning, because it's new muscles, right? Like you were saying at the top, like what you got out of Dan Harris's podcast was how little we get taught speaking and listening. Like our parents,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why are we not taught that?
Yeah.
It's totally absurd. Like, and if you look at the evolution of humanity, right, we had to learn how to communicate with each other in order to convey things. And at some point, language evolved from, whatever they were doing, hand signals, and then they were, writing things or drawing or whatever. And then at some point they're making noises, and then it turned into sounds and ultimately words and then letters. And so the evolution of communication is kind of mind blowing.
Totally.
But here we are in a very evolved world. And sometimes I think it's de-evolving with everything moving online and away from real communication with each other. But don't get me ranting on that for a hot second. Why do we not just foundationally teach our children as they're growing, our young adults like me in the world, how to better facilitate healthy communication so there will be ultimately less suffering? Emotional suffering is caused because of poor or lack of or withholding or negative communication.
Definitely.
So much suffering, dude. So much suffering.
Definitely. And I think there's been an arc and an evolution of communication, speaking and listening since generations ago. I remember, I don't think it was you've maybe said it a little bit in your family. They follow that model of like kids are seen, not heard, right? So it's like we get taught by the by the family of origin or wherever we spend most of our time in young years, a lot of that communication skills, and they must be great, like depending on, and then there's like specific training that you can get. Like some people go for sales training or how to be a speaker or, like cold calling or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, it's a wasteland.
I know. It's unfortunate. Let's try and give them some hope.
No, oh gosh, no. I mean, so what we're talking about here is like, it's not easy. Like, I think
Right.
that's the thing, like I'm in this year-long program because I don't think you just learn this like, oh yeah, I got that, I mean, learning to ride a bike takes a little bit, but once you got it, right? Like you just get back on it, right? Communication, man, I think that's something we could learn for the rest of our lives, because it's driven by our paradigms and what's, in going on in our mind and our story and, the expectations we have as we talk to people. So there's a lot there.
Well, let's just kind of unpack a little bit of the steps of just having awareness around, kind of awakening, if you will, to your own communication and your own listening, and what some of those basic skills are, just so people can feel like, oh, I didn't really think about it being this complex. It's just something that I do, Okay.
Well, so there's two things here, right? We're talking about speaking and listening. Oh, I remember the third thing I wanted to insert, and that is, and I don't remember how it breaks down, but you've probably heard of this too, is like communication. So let's say you and I are standing near each other or you're talking to a stranger, right? You just get to know someone. The words that are spoken is like 7% of the communication. 93% of the communication, or 2% is like how you do it, like the tone or something like that. But like 90% is
Physical.
Yeah, it's this other way of communicating. It's, and it's a little different on Zooms and internet and stuff like that. Like that gets a little lost. That's why I find one of the reasons people get so tired on Zoom, not just staring at a screen, number one, but because our mind is having to work so hard to pick up on all those little things in the person's facial expressions, body language that ordinarily our body picks up on for us, right? Like you stand next to somebody, you got a vibe. Like, if they're telling the truth or not, or if they're on your team or they're not, or if they're adversarial, or if they're holding something, like you can sense it, right? It's that other sensory. But on digital, we have to tune in, like our mind and our listening, if you will, has to be more acute for those signals that we don't ordinarily get, the other 90% that we get from our body. So,
Yeah, and we're not receiving their energy the same way at all through a screen portal. And yeah, I'm not a super fan of Zoom. I just kind of wish it was never invented.
necessary,
That's what
but
it is.
helpful and necessary, but not preferred for sure.
Exactly. Okay, so what can people do to become more aware? Maybe do you want to start with the listening element or do you want to start with the speaking element?
Yeah, I want to talk about the listening because I
Okay.
think there's so much. And one of the pillars that I wanted us to chat about here is about communication and conversation, the ability to communicate and have a clear conversation is you being able to express in the world. Like it's your self-expression, right? And there's so much that I discover in my own behaviors, and I see out in the world of people withholding communication, right? For a variety of reasons. Number one is your brain detects communication, conversations, language as a threat. It's always like, well, what's going on here? It's got this filter of protectionism going on, right? And so let me insert this right now, and this is from the work of Landmark, is they teach you, we have this story, right? And everyone's is a little bit different and nuanced, but a lot of the things, there's like 8 ways of listening that we typically already are listening from, like the paradigm or the story we're filtering through: defending and protecting, fixing and changing, resisting and preventing, forcing and controlling, like got to get them to do this, right? Justifying and explaining, convincing and proving. And that's that has us often withhold communication or deliver communication, are speaking out of those filters. Like, oh, this person is trying to overwhelm me or they're trying to get over on me. Like I listen for marketing that way. I'm always like, oh, don't sell me. How people are like, oh, I can't go to that thing because I'm going to be sold. And it's like, it's not a threat. It's just words, but it's like, oh, they take themselves out of situations because they can't see they're listening other than like, I'm something's coming at me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, totally.
yeah. So just know like that's going on in the background. And if you just look at the way you interact with people, it's amazing how much we do it. So much. So I just wanted to insert that. And then, your question earlier was like, well, what do you do with all that? Like, how do you not do that?
Exactly.
Okay, this is a muscle, man. This is totally a muscle. Okay, like I'm still like I got little puny muscles at this, but it's coming from nothing. Okay. And so what that is like noticing when you're aware, like someone's saying something to you and you're like I do this with my mom. My number one with my mom is fixing or was, right? So my new paradigm is she's fine. She's totally okay. Mom comes to me with something. I don't need to fix it. I'm not her problem solver. Right. So, I listen to her as like, oh, she's telling me something. Oh, what's mom up to today? Instead of, she gets on the phone the other day. Oh, I'm so lonely. And I'm like, oh, I got to fix that. No, I don't. Right? Sorry. You don't have any friends around you right now. Like, I can hear that. Right. Or protecting is like, somebody wants you to do something like, hey, can you take out whatever? Or they come to you with like, oh, I've got some edits for your paper or something like that. And you're like, oh, so just be like, oh, you got some edits. All right. Let me hear it. But it's not like an attack. It's not trying to get one over on you, manipulate you. It's just like, okay, someone has some edits. What do you see?
Well, the reason that people, humans, all of us included, go into any conversation, any communication with a way of interpreting it is we have some kind of story and pre-programming back there in our head, right? It's like, I know anytime my boss comes to me, they're going to be critical and they really don't like the work that I do and they really don't appreciate me and blah, 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 and 50,000 stories that they've got, right? So even though the boss might literally be coming in with a trip plate of cupcakes, happy birthday. I'm like, oh God, here they come again. Now they're going to, yeah. Like, it's just, that's my story, not the story. Right. And it's, again, a story that I have made up in my head from my experiences, whatever. And so what you're saying in a scenario like that, just to kind of play it out, is to come with just a listening, an emptiness, a clean plate, basically, and just observe, listen, don't attach any emotions or story to it, right? But you still have to interpret what they're saying. You still have to probably respond to what they're saying. So there does have to be some kind of interaction.
Yeah, and you're interacting with them, but you're doing your best to let go of that protecting, defending, all of this that's going on that keeps you from being with that person, right? Now, when I hear Lemberg say like, oh, come from nothing, I'm like, I would like to say like, come from hearing people big, come from hearing people capable or on your team, right? Like I have this one client that I'm coaching right now, and there's such a not animosity, but like fear of the team. Like the team doesn't, it's not that they don't respect her. It's she just doesn't see herself as valued in some way, right? And so it's like, oh, they're like she diminishes herself, right? And it's like, no, see your team big. So and this is where one of the things we're going to talk about is like you can listen for other people, you can have a paradigm for other people, and you can have a listening for yourself, right? So how are you listening yourself in this conversation? Like where's the equality? Like you said, this, oh, they're going to do this. Well, like they're whole and complete, I'm whole and complete. We're just having a communication.
I know you're in a public place, so there must be some people that just walked in near you. Do you want to move to another part of the room?
Sorry, yeah.
Are they right there in front of you?
Well, yeah, maybe I don't know. Well, we'll do that. Yeah. Okay,
There's
we'll take
another
it.
corner.
Yeah, so like 5 minutes after we started,
Mhm.
people just walked in, and started having this whole, I'm like, oh my gosh.
But go to one of those little cubbies over in the corner.
Yeah, I can. It's gonna change the background, so we'll just look different.
Oh, that's all right. At least we
Okay.
won't hear their
Yeah.
side conversation.
Yeah. Oh,
It sounds like they're sitting at the table with you. Oh, geez.
yeah, right. Well, let's see. Here. Look at this little spot.
There we go. Yeah, that's better.
Sorry about
Okay.
that. I was trying to mute it so you wouldn't, but like, I can tell I'm on a call, like, seriously?
I know. They were just gonna do their own thing no matter what was happening there.
Yeah. So how can we
Okay.
adjust? Like, we have to tell people like we clipped it and like starting again. So
That's all right.
okay. Okay, so I have moved now to make the audio just a little more smooth because I am in a public place. So let's
Yeah.
continue though, shall we?
Yeah, it happens when you're doing road tripping. This is
Mhm.
sometimes how it is. We're full of adaptations anyway. So back to conversations, back to languaging, and most importantly, listening. So we're talking right now about listening specifically and how to come to a communication exchange with another human without bringing your backpack full of baggage and emotion and all these other preconceived stories, ideas, concepts, whatever about them and you into the dynamic so it can be clean.
Yeah, and one of the things I would say, one of the practices we do in our program that I think is helpful, and I don't know how people can get this in their own life, but it's just something to look at, is clearing, right? So like before you have a conversation or a call with your boss or whatever, just like have someone you can talk to just sort of let all that stuff out so you don't sort of, like you said, bring it as a backpack to that next conversation. It's like, you just speaking it out there, putting it on the table and going, I want to let that go. Like I've got all this that I'm walking into that meeting with or that phone call with. I'm just gonna let that go. That can help you just shed that listening, that backpack that you were talking about. What about you?
Mhm. Well, the funny thing about that is when you have that, I keep thinking of like a work environment. Um, you have your stories in your backpack full of drama back there, and you're like waltzing into the meeting or whatever. You literally cannot hear anything because the voices in your head are so freaking loud.
Totally.
You're not even hearing it anymore. So I think that's a way to like catch yourself too, is if you're in that environment with a loved one, with a coworker, could be the clerk at the freaking grocery store or the barista or whatever, right? You're making up so much BS in your own head. You're actually not even in the conversation. You're not even in the moment. You're literally kind of almost removed from it. And so you detach. That's another mechanism for survival, I'm sure. And, to get through the moment or the tense. But that's a way to sort of recognize,
Mm,
hey,
mm.
the voices in my head have taken over this whole thing. Maybe this is not the
Yeah.
right time for me to go talk with this person. I need
Yeah.
to reset here and
Mhm.
clear. Or if I'm in it and I can't leave it, then you're going to have to do something else, some kind of way of like calming yourself, whether it's breathing or just grounding yourself back into the reality of, oh, I'm just here to talk to Polly about this work assignment. That's it. Let me open up my ears again and be present.
Yeah. I love what you just added to this because it's like taking responsibility for what's in your listening and going like, oh, like going upstairs and going, oh, I got all this chatter going on. I've got, or going downstairs and feeling all the emotions that are stirred up because of what you're chattering about, right? Because this is all the emotional basis of how you're feeling is all disjointed resistance or whatever, because you're thinking yucky thoughts, or you brought the baggage with you, right? So doing your own clearing, you're absolutely right,
You know what I see so much is that people resist having conversations because they have made up so many stories in their head about what's going to happen, what's going to be said, that they're not going to know how to respond. And they literally have worked the whole thing out as if they are literally creating a movie, because that phone call could literally be a 2-minute phone call to book an appointment or make something happen, or it could be an hour-long convo with the boss or a loved one or something. They've They've scripted the whole thing. They must be magic, by the way. They must know exactly what's going to happen and be able to future tell the entire thing. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, no, it is. No, it
They
is.
show up with the baggage and the energy and all the drama, right? And then they create it. Even if it's not, the conversation isn't going that way, they create it.
Well, and you can do the opposite too. You can create, I call them bookend.
Exactly.
You can create a bookend of like, this is going to go well, right? So all of this is, let's say, strategies or ways of being in conversation, being in communication, right? Do you have that you listen people big and you listen yourself small? Do you have that like things are going to go well? Or do you have like, this is going to be a battle to the end? You know, it's like, check out, like put out in front of you, what's in my listen? Where am I coming from? Right. And thirdly, like your own energy state, like who am I being walking into that? Because we said 90+% of communication is energetic, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna speak this way, but I'm gonna feel this, feel another way. That ain't, talking out of one side of your mouth and whatever. So it's like get congruent and come to the conversation, the talk, the way that you want things to go, like with empathy, with open heart, open-mindedness, whatever, like I cherish what you have to say. Like I'm actually listening to you instead of I just want to get this point across. So.
And I even take it further with myself or with people, and I will say, write it down, because I'm the writing down queen here. I'm going to call mom, haven't talked to mom in a long time, and I want to make sure I talk about these three things. They could be important things that we need to talk about and resolve, but I will craft it in a way that it's appropriate and loving and compassionate and all that kind of
Totally.
stuff. Or it could just be, oh my God, the last time I talked to mom, she told me she was getting the house painted. I should ask about that. Oh, and I should ask about her knee. Her knee's been hurting. I want to make sure we talk about that. And then you know what? I was wondering how cousin Fred's doing in Alabama. I should talk about that. So you actually are like coming prepared to have a quality conversation, not winging it.
Yeah.
The winging it is the craziness in your head, and that shit's going to take over. You people need to be a little more prepared for these human interactions.
Yeah, for sure.
You
For
know?
sure. Yeah. Yeah. What
That's
else?
taking responsibility too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that's listening. Come open, be curious, right? Take responsibility. What about the talking part? How do I not just blurt out all the weird shit that I'm thinking right now? Blah, 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 blah.
Hey, in certain company, totally welcome, right? And I mean, like the truth is, why the hell not? Like that's the point we want to get to is like, I want to speak freely, right? Like that is having free self-expression, full self-expression, what we're all here for, I would say. Everything else is withholding something. Like, oh, I can't say that in this circle. I can't say that out here. Or what will they think if I say this, right? Prevent, all that defending and protecting that we're doing, right? Trying to control our environment. But pure self-expression is like, I just want to say this. Like when I talk to people who've done this work that I'm in with Landmark, their level of just like no nonsense, here it is like so damn refreshing. They just say it and you're like, wow, you just said that. You're like,
Boom.
sweet, and it's like, yeah, and I expect their listening of me is like, yeah, and I expect you to just take that as communication, not a threat, not, something's wrong, not whatever. It's like, yeah, that's just communication. So damn good. So good.
Well, so I'm going to push back on that a little bit because that sounds far too evolved, because most people are in a communication chain here with, whatever. There's relationship in some capacity. It's very rare that you're talking to a stranger. I mean, I talk to strangers all the time, but most people don't talk to strangers. Okay. So there's some emotional charge. So if I just come waltzing on in with my liberated self and be like, dang, whatever, and I'm dropping my truth bombs, the other person's over there like, step walking backwards, trying to get out the door as soon as possible. Or there's an explosion or some kind of turmoil because of their response to my liberated truth.
Well, and what's in their listening, right? So one of the things I want to say to that is like agreement, right? So like we create these unspoken rules and agreements. Like we are literally like, this is something else in the course they teach us is we're walking around with unspoken rules of communicating with us that we don't tell people about. Like, and we often don't even know what those rules are, like don't yell at me in my own house or something like that. Like that's not, I'm just saying, like as an example, right? Or
No, that's a good one. That's a good one.
yeah, like don't text me this way. Like and people sometimes tell you, like, don't text me this. You can only text me this. Or, I don't like audio text, or don't text me after 8 or whatever. It's like, well, those are spoken ones, but there's a lot of unspoken that just they shame you about, like you do them and you don't know that you've done them. They're just like, oh, well, so.
Yeah.
So,
Well, okay, just having awareness for that
uh,
is a big thing. I don't tolerate yelling in my house from anybody. So
yes,
there are some things. I have rules. Hell yeah, I got rules. And it's funny to say that we all have rules because I totally recognize my gazillions of them. But if we're not conveying that which is our truth, whether they feel like boundaries or whatever the thing is we need, it's a problem. I was in a work environment recently. A co-worker and I were talking outside of the workspace, and she was expressing a communication she had internally with a customer in this scenario, and how uncomfortable it made her, because she has rules about how she will and will not be spoken to, and this person, total stranger nonetheless, in a work environment,
yeah,
violated that rule, and it really was painful to her, really painful. So we were talking it through, and I was allowing her to sort of work through that and express that. But I thought, wow, there's a really powerful example of, because of who she is in the world and her values and her belief system and just all of that beautiful uniqueness about her, there was this, whether, I don't think this person did it with intention. I'm not saying they're the best human in the world and they, did it kindly. They just were kind of oblivious, is what I think,
yeah,
based on how I heard the thing went down. But it's really unfortunate because I think those kind of things happen all the time, every day. And everything is to our own interpretation as well. So we have these rules, but then we also have these interpretations of what may or may not be happening, what may or may not have been said.
mm,
So at some point, we all have to build this muscle you're talking about as well, around being able to say, God, Polly, you texted me that thing the other day, and it really kind of threw me off. It made me, I didn't feel good about that. Can I talk to you about that? Can we discuss it? What was your intent? What did you mean? Can you clarify for me what you meant?
yeah, and
Because most times it's going to be nothing at all.
yeah, and sometimes, like we talk about those unspoken rules, like you just bumped up against one and you didn't know it. Like your communication was going like you thought it was fine, bumped up against an unspoken rule,
Mhm.
and then it makes it wrong, right? Like that person has like resistance against it. Like, oh, why'd you do that? And you're like, oh, I was just communicating, right? So one of the other covenants or philosophies in this work is everything can be worked out in communication.
Mm.
In communication, you can work out anything. As long as you're in communication, you're not withholding communication. Like, oh, someday they'll hear from me, or they're like you make wrong or whatever, right? But you have to be in communication. So like put it out there, like, oh my God, that thing that you said that like you just dropped that, actually that sucked. Like I heard that like this and I got all wound up over here because you said that. And they're like, wow, okay, I was just saying that. And look how I took it, right? Because there's what's said, and then there's the interpretation or the meaning that our mind makes up quickly, right? Like, it relays it, it filters it, it distorts it against all these things that we have going on from our past. And that thing that got said means this to us, right?
Mhm.
And it's just natural. That's just how we work. That's how it is. But recognizing in that moment, oh, I don't have to respond to that. That's just communication. That's just what was said.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it's
And at any
tricky.
given moment, millions of things are coming into our sensory systems, verbally, visual, right? How many times do you do this with your eyes too? You see a thing and you're totally sure you know exactly what's happening, and you have literally no idea, right? You just made up this whole thing. So we do it with words too, I'm sure, all of the time.
Totally. I mean, there's so much that our brain is filtering, the subconscious,
Mhm.
has an okay per, parameter, like what our comfort zone is, right? Like acceptable zone. I talk about these rules and stuff like that. there's all of this stuff going on in the brain. It's miraculous to me with the like
It is.
like one of the things I remember thinking as I started to learn about hypnotherapy and the way the brain works, and like our brain is organized. Like imagine you so if I went out and so your brain, let's say it's like a mega computer, right? And we put all these apps on it, we put all these programs on it, and we store a bunch of stuff on it, we throw some pictures on it, whatever. And you create this like computer, this way of being computer in the world. And you go, oh, and do you want to like fall in love with this human being that's got all different set of apps and programs and all these experiences and whatever? It's like, how can they possibly, with such different experiences, find ways to navigate those conversations? Oh, this means that to me. Well, I thought it meant that, and
Mhm.
it's dynamic, right? But it can get worked out in communication as long as both people come and like speak their one of my favorite phrases that I've learned over the years is I speak my truth with compassion. I don't just so like one of the first ones I learned was I speak my truth. Boom, 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 right? That was we talk about this rules, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like, okay, I I put it inside of I want this to go well. Like I want this to
exactly.
go well. Like I want this to land with the person. I don't try and like cook, I'm always like softening it or I can't share it with them, but I'm trying to convey it in a way that like my listening of them is I want us to stay like the one of the foundational cores of landmark work is love and affinity is
Mhm.
present, right?
Mhm.
Love and or affinity. So that's a healthy relationship, whether it be a one-time exchange at a gas stop or somebody you really care about or your family. Love and affinity is present at the core, and then you build up from that, right? So all communication, if it disrupts this love and affinity, it can get worked out, right? As long as you both are coming from the basis, love and affinity is to be present, right? You want to preserve that.
Well, let's give an example of, let's say there's a conflict situation and you want to restore communication in that dynamic. What would be some tips for the listener?
Well, first is taking 100% responsibility for your communication, right?
Mhm.
Like oftentimes we have listening going on for that other person or ourselves, and we don't tell that person. It's like, oh, I've been, so like one of the examples ways you could say is like they have a script, and one of the scripts is like, although it may appear otherwise, what I've actually been up to in my communication with you is this, right? So it may look like I'm being friendly and personable, but what I'm actually doing is trying to get one over on you, or I'm actually trying to get you to do this thing for me, right? Or like, I want you to take out the trash, or I want you to be more, listen to me better, or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, hey, let me tell you what game I've been playing kind of behind the scenes over here. Let me show you my cards,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it's amazing when you be that vulnerable, like it gives that person permission to be vulnerable and authentic as well. And they go, oh, I see, and oftentimes you're like telling on yourself. You're like, you know what? I just gotta tell you,
Oopsie,
yeah,
oopsie.
right, right. Let me tell you what's been going on because I want to, and like, so like, there's a couple of steps to this. One is let me tell on myself, like, oh, I've been playing this game over here, like trying to do it this way, defending myself or whatever. How that leaves me feel. Number step number two is like, I feel alone and isolated. I feel like adversarial with you, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, and what I really want is for us to like feel more connected. I really want to get to know you more. I really want to feel like I can trust you and share with you, but I've been withholding a lot of stuff or protecting or something. So,
Mhm. What
yeah.
I see a lot of is either over communicating, and I have a
Mhm.
theory about that, or under communicating. So the over communicating will be examples of people where they're talking a lot and sort of rambling, and
We
they're
had
like
that last week. We had that
over
last week.
explaining. I've been having a lot of those people lately, and they're just
Talking.
incessantly talking, almost not even breathing. And it's like, of course, after a while of that, it doesn't make any sense at all. Maybe when they first start talking, you're kind of tracking, and then it just goes into cyberspace. And so bringing about awareness to them is okay, let's stop and take a breath. I see you're getting kind of worked up, and I really want to understand what you're saying. I'm sure you have something important to share with me. So let's bring it back into a conversation that we can both be part of.
That's
Because otherwise, it's
awesome.
like a runaway train. Literally, it's a runaway train. Once it leaves the building, it's just
Yeah,
gone. And by the way, me as the listener in that case is literally, I've just checked out. I don't know what they're
I
talking
know,
about anymore. I've left the building. I'm
totally.
I'm not even in. And
Yeah.
whatever they were trying to attempt to do, and I believe part of it is they're trying to be seen, heard,
Mm,
respected, understood, all those things. Whatever they were trying to have happen there, impossible,
mm.
because it's just that extreme, you know what I'm talking about, that extreme
Well,
situation.
I think what happens there too, so one of the things that we get trained on is like being in the conversation, like out there with the person. What I'm hearing in that, and this may not be true, is I don't know, is they're inside their head. They're just
Mhm.
blah, 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 like just either stream of thought or whatever, like I got to make this whatever, like. And then there's the others that like throw their words, like I call it like throwing your word. And like, hey, I'm listening to you. You don't have to throw your words at me. Like you can just say them. I can hear them.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
but I get you. So I think if that person were out in the conversation with you,
Mhm.
they would pick up that like you're checked out. Like they wouldn't just keep buzzing. They'd be like, "Oh, am I losing you?
Mhm.
Or did I lose you somewhere in that? Or or did you?" you
Because
know,
conversations are supposed to be two-way
And they're out
or
here.
even multi, but yeah, they're out there. They're not in here.
Hmm.
And then the other is the example of the person, and we all know this person too, who says nothing, right? Literally, they walk around the house, they walk around the office, they even show up to a meeting or to a very tight, group thing where, and they're over there like, da, 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 and you're like, what the hell's going on with Sally? Is she going to actually participate in this at all? Does she have zero interest? What is going on? So in that scenario, I mean, I have my theories about all these things, right? But I'm not in this educational thing they are, so I want to hear what your thoughts are. But
Wow.
again, I do envision that Sally, for example, is over there in her own head, and she has either left the building and is thinking completely different things, or
Hmm.
she's made up so many stories about this communication, this exchange, and
Hmm.
why this is happening and that's being said and whatever. So there's this defensiveness or whatever uncomfortableness with that, and just can't see herself participating, doesn't know how to participate, doesn't know how to be part of the conversation, and is just made up stories about either all the people there or about herself.
100%. Exactly. Exactly. Her listening of
Makes me
herself is like,
sad.
I can't express, I have nothing to contribute, this will be stupid, or, I don't want to look stupid or look bad, or, whatever, get rejected. All sorts of stuff goes on, right? And
Yeah.
yeah. And so, that's about creating a safe space, I mean, for that person, they need to grow up their, their esteem, how they see themselves and stuff, because they're listening themselves small, they're thinking that they're going to mess it, number one, this whole need for the human being to have belonging, right? So if I say something and then I'll get rejected or they'll think I'm stupid or whatever, it's like, poof, we're ousted into the prairie, and like we'll die
Mhm.
out there, right? That's what happens in the mind. And
Mhm.
it's like, man, no, just like speak your truth, right? With compassion, but speak your truth. So yeah, there's all of those things that you just mentioned are likely going on.
So for all of us listening and partaking in conversations, which is all of us, by the way, um, we need to have awareness about all of these things and an understanding and compassion for the human on the other side, and also for ourselves, right? It's sometimes we're the one in the challenge dynamic, sometimes it's the other party, depending if we're talking or listening, or sometimes both, you
Yeah.
know, and
And I
then
and
real conflict happens.
it's practicing, right? So I'm in this year-long program because this is like a practice. I was like, as we were talking about this, I was like, people we don't study this, right? So like I went to MBA school, it's a 2-year study. This program is actually 2 years. If you take it, you can do 1 or 2. And it's like I did that to learn skills of business, reading, cash flow statements and understanding, making trades in business and stuff like that, or leadership or whatever. The same with these communication skills is it's about taking it on, right? Like, what is an area of communication that in that already always listening paradigm? Like I say this to some people, if I have a conversation with someone, I might notice them in that listening, right? Like I was coaching one of my clients' team members, and I was like, yeah, just want to share with you like an observation. So there's listening to fix. And she's like, oh my God, I do that with my kids all the time. She's like, my parents or her kids are always like, can't you just listen to me? Just listen to me, not, to fix it, or to problem solve it. But she's just got herself in this mode, like people come to her with, or that's her listening of people is like, oh, you got something, let mommy solve it, let mommy solve it. Instead of just like listening to her kids for the joy that they are. Like, what are you up to? And how's your, who are you and whatnot? Like, are you screwing up? Did you get good grades? Are you making me look bad? All this fixing and contorting, right?
Exactly. Oh, that parent fixing thing, that's hard not to do.
Mhm.
Woo-wee. Yeah,
Mhm.
because they're your responsibility from the minute they leave the womb, and then there's no communication, and then they start communicating, and then it gets really messy because now they can talk back.
And your job is to make them ready for, adulthood. And so I got to fix you and get you, get you ready, instead of listening to them like, you're an amazing human being. You're going to figure this out. You're going to screw up some things. And I trust you to, I'm here if you want to talk some things out or whatever.
One, they're going to be suffering, and you have to listen to their suffering, and you have to see their suffering, and they're technically, you think, an extension of you. So yeah, if you're suffering, I'm suffering. Oh my God, we're all suffering.
Totally.
That
Oh,
happens in all environments too, even in work environments, interestingly enough, like
yeah.
in teams, where there's a
Yeah.
team of people and you're like bonded to this team, especially if you're a high performance team. And like if one or two of the people on the team are not doing well for whatever reason, personal or work or otherwise or whatever, you have this, everyone's like, we got to solve to this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Sally, I always say Sally. Sally, she's got this. We got all got to help her. We got to rally and we got to fix this. It's a very human trait, isn't
Mm-hmm.
that? Mhm.
And just noticing when our speaking creates our world, like we can create Sally bigger, like I find that one of the things that before I got into this work with Landmark, I used to a long time ago share with my eating disorder coaching client mothers. So the mothers who would bring their clients to me or, had issues with their daughters' eating disorders. I was like, so your number one thing I want you focusing on is I want you to see your daughter as well.
Mhm.
Like that's how you like I didn't
Strong, resilient, capable, intelligent, all of the things.
beyond all this. Like
Mhm.
this is past her. You can't be down in, you can't get sick enough to help sick people get well. It's like, no, you speak her, whole and complete and well and whatever, right? Don't my daughter's whatever. It's like you can tell me the first story, but then I don't want to hear it after that, right? Because we keep diminishing our listening of that person, right? And we can do that for ourselves or other people. So
Well, we
speak.
keep writing the story like we know the ending over
Mm,
and over and over again. We're going to bring some of this into reality because
mhm.
we're going to start attracting and doing and saying things to continue to, oh, well, there's a story here. Are we all on board with the story that this
Well,
isn't going to work?
and that's saying that our past and we just lunge to our past and we throw it into our future. We're like, yep,
Exactly.
we'll have some more of this, please, more of this, please. And it's like, leave the past in the past and like from nothing, you have the power to create. Okay, what do you want to create? Your daughter as? What do you want to create your life as? What do you want to create yourself as? What do you,
Or this relationship, if it's communication, what kind of relationship do I want to have with my boss or with my spouse or with my mother? What do I want to create today?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
yesterday, not last year, not when I was 12, not when I would, whatever, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, what do I want to create today?
Yeah, and I think if people can walk away with that one little thing, because that applies how you, so, some of the pillars I was thinking of communication, right? Of conversation, speaking and listening. One is, it's a self-expression, right? It's us in the world with anyone, like Do you have a successful negotiation in front of the judge? Do you have you're trying to get a new library card? Like it's those little interactions. Are you self-expressed? Do you have your power to create your power with your words? And then it's in communities and the impact we want to have, right? Like, are we expressing, are we practicing these communication skills to speak, what we want into the world in a bigger audience, you might say, you with your writing or your speaking. And then it's like in teams and teamwork or family, right? Like intimate relationships. It's like, do you have your power in these realms? You have your power anywhere in the world. Just who you are in the world is like you're a powerful speaker, communicator, words can't hurt you, kind of thing. Do you have it in your community? Do you have it in, the impact that you're trying to make in the world? And in your teams, your business, your family, your intimate relationships. Are you expressed? Are you practicing those? And you can see it a lot when, like, one of the first things that we do in these courses is they make you make a list, and it sounds like this. So I talked about love and affinity as the basis. I just love that. Like I'm like, man, that's just like my bumper sticker for life now. It's like love and affinity, right? So where did you have love and affinity present in a relationship and it's not present now? And likely that person probably isn't present in your life, right? So you make this list, right? And some people have short lists, some people have really long lists, right? I would say that the amount of people you have on that list is an indication of how expressed you are in the world or not. Like how you're doing in communication. Like if you've cut people off and written people off in your life and like sayonara, or your world just gets smaller, right? Like who you're willing to talk to, speak to, tolerate, all this stuff. That shows like the level of communication expression you are in the world. Like my list right now, like one of our questions every week is, who did you restore love and affinity with? I answer no one every week because I don't have anyone on my list anymore. Like I have
Cleared them.
I have cleared them. Or there are two examples of people where I have been in communication multiple times to have those conversations and they resist. And I'm like, well, they're not on my list because I have love and affinity. Like it's present for me. I'm like, I want to clear that with you. And it doesn't mean you have to like welcome them back in your life, especially people who weren't so good to you. It's like, it's not like, oh, like re-embrace them and let's just start over. I'm just like, okay, get that cleared up in your life and your energy, right? Like clear yourself for it. Some people writing letters to dead people who've passed. Maybe that's how you do it.
That's what I was going to mention, letter writing, before we wrap up here, because I have homework for people. But one of the ways that I am working on this area of my life is through writing and the written word. So letters to myself. So I did actually start the Elizabeth Gilbert love letters, basically. So I've done this in the past, not as like formalized or how she's got it going on. And if you're just put in Elizabeth Gilbert love letters and you'll see what's going on there. But it's like a powerful movement of people writing a daily love letter to themselves.
So good. I love her. Yeah.
She's amazing. But the concept anybody can do, and it can take on whatever form. So I'm not doing exactly how she has scripted, but for me, it's an expression of, rather than like a journal and writing what happened to me today and I'm bitching and moaning and whatever. I don't need any of that stuff in my life. What I need is communication with myself and more clarity with myself. So it is a letter to myself about, you're fucking amazing today. I love you because you did this and that and that. And this is, I'm just pouring you with love. And sometimes I write like 2 sentences and other times it's 2 pages. It's amazing. And then the flip side of that coin is I actually decided to, a secondary project for myself, again, as a writing person, is I started writing letters to other people. Now, again, I believe in love letters. Even when I had my past company and I would write a letter to a very large audience of people who were customers and contacts, I was writing a love letter to that community. That's just how I like to express in the world. So this love letter concept, I think, is very powerful for people, and it can be incredibly healing and impactful. So this other element to what I'm doing is that love letter is a letter to someone else. So it's random. I don't, every week it's just a different thing. I just feel like I need to write a love letter to that person. Part of it is me just fully expressing a deeper sense of connection to them and my ideas about our relationship or them or whatever, but it's all loving and positive. So it's not like I'm trying to make amends or anything. No, I just I'm telling you, you're fucking awesome. Let me tell you again. Let me tell you in a different way, or whatever the thing is. So again, it's me communicating outward and fully expressing my internal love for myself and for others in my life, and ultimately for the world, and ultimately for humanity, right? But our listener can take that on in any way, shape, or form they want. It can be letters of releasing, like you were talking about earlier. It can be any type of communication, except for texting. Okay, so textings,
That's not
no,
communication. Yeah, by the way,
no,
that's
no,
not, yeah, that's a whole other thing. It's not communicating. So that, nope,
they need to just stop.
no.
If
Phone
you're
call.
trying to communicate in a text to anyone about anything of importance, besides, I'll see you at the coffee shop in 10 minutes, or did you pick up the laundry? Okay. Anything of like relationship importance, we just forbid texting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Upset, hurt, all of that stuff. Got to get on the phone, pick up the phone. Yeah.
It's becoming a lost art, this thing called communication that we're talking about today. It's becoming
Yeah.
a lost
We're
art.
bringing it back. We're bringing it back.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think we're going to teach a whole class on this at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I just got that. Yeah.
So
I'm
good.
going to do the love letter piece and you'll do your piece. But I think that's happening.
Well,
I got a message from the universe right now. I just got a DM. That's happening. They just text me. That's happening, Sam.
and I want to say, I think Elizabeth Gilbert's thing is called Letters from Love. And I I have it that one of the things that you're doing, like this is, I see us as vessels for love, right? And so people, I think we sometimes get misguided in the way that love appears for us in the world. It's like something to get or something to acquire. Like I want that person's love. I think we're here to flow love. Like they are an object of love. And I think that's allowing us to be what we're here for. We're here to be vessels of love. So you just have objects of love that you want to love on,
And receive.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving it to myself. And
Yeah.
even if I get zero response from those people, because I have zero expectations for response, it's not a thing at all. Like, even if I didn't mail the letters, it's totally fine,
It's your love flowing.
Exactly. It's opening up that place in myself to express and then to receive, because I'm putting it out into the universe, basically. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're up to some fun things, you and I. Look at
I
us.
dig it. I dig it. Yes, yes. And when this goes live, we'll be wrapping up the Come Alive program. It's been a great, great series. We did a wonderful visioning and hypnosis last night. I took them on some guided journeys. It was super fun, super fun. Some of it had never had hypnosis before, so that was great. And I think I'm going to incorporate that into the December program. So stay tuned for more on that. We're picking up some more projects and more going live. But
Cool.
yeah, it's good. It's good. And
Cool,
I
cool.
think I'll be back in California within about a week. So we'll be having our
wow.
episodes back in my home state. So
Okay. Well, don't rush. You're having a good time. Stay out as long as you want. You can go
Right.
play as long as you want.
Totally. Totally. Oh, it was good connecting. So what's our one thing? Do we have a one thing from this? What would it be for you?
My one thing definitely is kind of where I was closing at the end there, is like you need to express, and communication is a form of expression. So the restrictedness or the holding back, if you're having a hard time communicating with others, I want you to start communicating with yourself first. And that will sort of build a little bit of a muscle there. So then you can slowly start putting out into space, either through your mouth or in a written form, communication with others. But if you're really feeling just choked up, restricted, restrained, you got to start with yourself. Got to start at home.
Love it. Wow, that's so good. I would say for me, one of my practices is notice what's in your listening. Notice what story back, like you said, you're carrying into the conversation. Like notice it. And I find that I often don't notice it in advance. How I notice it is a little too late, but I'll just give you an example. This is where I'm working new muscles. Is I'll have a jerky response, like something is not jerky. I mean, like bumpy,
one of these.
like a bump. There's some resistance. I'll feel it in my body, and I go, oh, "What's in my listening?" That's how I notice it. I take responsibility for it immediately. If like I start to tense up, or if I notice like things aren't, I'm like, "Oh, what's in my listening?" So that's how it's a little late. It's not coming to it from nothing, but I notice it at least at that point. I go, oh, and then I'm listening for myself. I'm like, are these words coming out of my mouth justifying, protecting, fixing? Okay, what the hell are you doing here? Like I can catch it there. It's again a little bit further down the roadmap than I'd like, but that's a practice, right? That's how we do it. So notice what's in your listening and then drop it. Let it go. Like, okay, get in the conversation, be with the person, right?
I have one more piece of homework.
Oh, what is it?
I just think it's so incredibly valuable before you go into any communication to get clear what you want to talk about in the communication.
Yeah.
And don't just let shit unravel.
Yeah.
Okay, so like an instance that came up when you were just talking there, I immediately got a vision of like, I've been in communications where I want to go, I have an agenda. I have an agenda.
Hmm.
It could be something very simple, like I want to feel connected to this person. I
Hmm.
want to share my experience about XYZ. I want to, whatever. I have an agenda, right? So then I go into that communication, but I don't clarify that and I don't communicate that. Or just talk, like the example I said about calling your mother. Like go into the call, the communication. I really want to talk about these three things
Hmm.
because there should be intention in communication too. I do feel like every human is worth our time, our effort, our energy, and clear intention allows the pathway for that.
Nice. Nice. So have an intention for your conversations, your communications. Yeah. Yeah. And like you can stray if it's like casual conversations, but like cover those things. Like you said, don't just like fluff and talk about nothing and then nothing, like that's just like eating empty food. It's like, oh God, like, yeah, you consumed
Or you leave the conversation, you're like, can you believe she never asked me about my haircut? Can you believe? Yeah, it's stories, right?
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
I want to tell you I got a haircut, I should show up and be like, hey, what do you think of this haircut? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
taking responsibility, but like I'm like, I want to talk about my hair. What do you think?
Exactly. I'm expressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Right.
All right. What do we want to remind our beautiful
Exciting.
humans today? What do we want to tell them?
Oh my goodness. If they don't know by now that their life, how it looks, is not as important as how it feels.
And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.